Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our regular council meeting tonight, October 28, 2024. Before we begin with our caucus, Councilwoman Dickinson will present accommodation to the Akron Garden Club on the occasion of the group's 100th anniversary.
And this is pretty lengthy, so I will read part of it.
Okay.
Whereas the Akron Garden Club, the first garden club in Akron, was founded by Mrs. F.A. Seiberling in 1924 at her home, Stan Hewitt Hall, for, quote, the advancement of gardening and stimulation of interest in the preservation and enhancement of the natural beauties of Akron and vicinity, end quote. The club was a charter member of the Garden Club of Ohio in 1927, and instrumental in the founding of the Garden Forum of Greater Akron in 1932. The Akron Garden Club became a member of the Garden Club of America in 1945 and is considered a leader among its 200 clubs. Skip ahead a little bit. Okay. Whereas in honor of its 100th anniversary, the club launched a $1 million endowment campaign and donated nearly $100,000 for a pollinator garden in the Valley View area of Cascade Valley Metro Park on Cuyahoga Street in Akron. Club members raised nearly 2,000 native plants from seed, and volunteers planted them over a 3-day span, the club's centennial gift to the community. Now, therefore, be it known by all and declared by the Council of the County of Summit, State of Ohio, that this council commends the Akron Garden Club on 100 years of tremendous works in the community, providing scholarships for horticultural studies, wildflower rescues, the removal of invasive species, legislative environmentalism, conservation projects, and the restoration, maintenance, and enhancement of gardens and landscapes. We urge all citizens to join in celebrating this milestone on the 28th day of October in the year 2024.
Thank you. We're wonderful. Proud to be here.
Great.
Thank you for everything you all do.
Yes.
For our community.
Let's take a photo.
Get a photo. Here, when you sing. Judge Cook is here.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I'm dealing with the parking deck. No stairs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Very much. Oh, do you mind taking one for us?
Hey, do you want to take one? Oh, yeah.
I just never know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to work.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Appreciate
coming.
it. See you guys next month. I'll read it.
Next we have Phil Montgomery of the Executive's Office of Finance and Budget, who will provide a financial update to the council.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. I did not send these out in advance, but they are in front of you. Mark printed them out. This is the periodic update I bring to council as to where we are with our financials in the general fund. These reports are through September 30th, so our current, most recent quarter end. So just going down through the list and looking at where we are with general fund revenue, so far, year to date, September 2024, we sit at $136 million in general fund revenue, which is a 9% increase over the same time period in 2023. And looking at where we are with the projection for year end, 2023, we finished with nearly $162 million in general fund revenue. And as of today, I'm showing a forecast of $168 million in the general fund at the end of 2024, so an increase of 3.7%. Looking at the first section in terms of the revenue, a lot of that number is being generated by several areas that are increased at this point over last year. General property tax increase is looking to be up about 25%. That was because of the sexennial reappraisal. Property transfer tax has picked back up, so as the feds are messing with the interest rates and people are refinancing again, so some of those Transfers and conveyance fees are going up with that. Under defensive indigence, that continues to increase because of the amount we're paying out and the amount that Ohio Public Defenders is reimbursing us for those rates, so that's still on a good trend. Local government tax is showing to be up 5.3% for the year end. We did increase our Akron jail contract 2.5%, and we are showing the realization of that. Several of our fees between clerk of courts, recorder, the treasurer, and the auditor, those revenues have picked back up with all of the activity that's happening in those areas. And then the last one of major note is the investment earnings. So right now, we have collected $17.5 million in investment earnings. We are looking to finish the year just a little bit north of $20 million, which is a $5 million increase over 2023. Now that number, as we go through budget hearings, and everybody that's met with me about their 2025 budget knows that we are going to be putting about $200 million in cash out the door. So that investment earnings number is going to start to sink. And so that's reflective in the 2025 budget. It's reflective in the 5-year forecast. That's the last page of this. So just want to continue to highlight that for council. Parking deck revenue is up a little bit, and then we did have a little bit more collections in our indirect costs. So that's where we are with revenue. The original certificate was $145 million. We're going to beat that by about $22 million. So everything's looking pretty good for 2024. On the expense side, we have Board of Election salaries are up a little bit because it is a presidential year, and there's a lot more part-time workers and precinct workers. Salaries for employees and benefits are up. We had a 3% cost of living adjustment for 2024, and also a 10% increase for healthcare premiums for 2024. So those are reflected in the expenditures that you see on here. Contract services is up a little bit. There's some timing on where we're going to do professional services and contract services with how we record the expenses for attorney fees and indigent defense. I'll have that cleaned up before the next report to council. They're just kind of flip-flop. The numbers are fine, but we got to get them in the right bucket. Insurance was up a little bit over what we expected when we did the 2024 budget, primarily in public safety or law enforcement coverages. Utilities are up about 5.1%, and then looking at PA mandate and transfers out, that's where we move some of the available funds to fund all of the capital projects that we have going on. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm showing us up on the expenditure side 4% in 24 over 2023 in total.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, good job, Phil. How much is in the rainy day fund?
It continues to be at $20 million. We haven't touched it. 25.3. Yeah, it hasn't been touched since it was created in 2001.
It was created in somewhere around 96, 97. I think 01 was the last year we actually transferred money
Into it.
Okay. Any reason to increase that? I mean,
I would tell you the money that, so there's a couple of things. The general fund, for all intents and purposes, is both the stabilization fund and the core general fund. That period from 2008 through 2012, 13, where we were spending reserves, that money all came out of the general fund. We never did touch the rainy day.
you say with stabilization fund, rainy day fund, same thing.
Correct.
Correct, yeah. The general fund balance, in addition to the 25.3, was at 29.9 million when that spend down began because of the Great Recession. It got as low as $3.3 million. So we have continued to put money back, Phil's continued this, into the general fund, restoring that general fund reserve. In addition, a lot of the capital projects, like the parking deck, this building, funding these excess funds that we've generated have gone into because we spent a good decade and a half doing nothing on the capital side. So addressing all the capital. One of the other items Phil talked about in terms of reserves today was the fact that we have a 27th pay period.
In 2026.
2026. So we may set some money in reserve, a separate general fund reserve just to cover that extra pay period that year. Which is
One additional pay period is just north of $11 million.
that's countywide.
Yeah,
General fund, yeah.
no, that was general fund. thought I ran general fund number on that when I looked at it. No, I did the whole.
That's countywide, yeah. Because your total general fund salaries are what, 60 million?
65,
So,
yeah.
Plus benefits, you're talking probably about 3.5 million.
I'll look at it again. But to Brian's point, Mr. Schmidt, if you look at the top of the 5th page in that packet, there is a general fund reserve at the top that's in addition to the stabilization rainy day fund. So,
Just curious, we haven't heard that term in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Thank God, because we used to talk about it every year.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Bill.
sure. So just quickly, the last 2 pages in the packet, page 4 is just a summary of the 3 pages that preceded it for the 1-year forecast, putting it into the major fund categories with some footnotes as to some changes. And then the last page is the updated 5-year forecast. This includes where we're going to finish 2024. You can see the assumptions down at the bottom in terms of what we have included in there for revenue projections. And looking through, when I update this for the final for 2024, I will include that 27th pay in the 2026 column. It's not in here currently, but we will look at that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any further questions? No, thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Next, we have Reverend Pamela Pinckney to address council for 3 minutes. Pamela, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. As I stated on the last time I spoke with you all, I am encouraging you to improve your legislation. I am in total opposition to issue 40, which we're voting for now, because it gives the government control over families versus parents over families. The legislation this evening, I have an interest in resolutions 2024-282 and 290, and I'm going to come back if I don't run out of time. I am in opposition to resolutions 2024-283, 284, 292, 293, 276, and 278. And I do support resolution number 2024-288. For the resolution 2090, the Small Business Day, I'd like to know what businesses are inclusive of Small Business Day, because Black, female, brown, and multiracial businesses are still denied fair and equal opportunities for funding and allocation of resources. I would like to know what will happen on this National Small Business Day. Who is inclusive of this? For 2092, the school-based mental health foster to adopt families, I am totally in opposition to this until we get this psychiatric abuse under control and Children's Services stops being a first responder and allowed to medicate especially Black, brown, and multiracial children as if we are a detriment to society. I am in total opposition to that, so I hope you don't vote to pass that just because it's just something to do. I am interested in your project expenditures. I would like to know some more accountability of these project expenditures. I heard some very interesting things in some of the most recent other meetings, and I believe we need to come together with the church community for these projects expenditures. And for 283 and 284, I am in total disagreement with non-bargaining agreements, and where you leave out Black, brown, and multiracial businesses, where you leave out women in businesses for these contracts with the county. And you only, I noticed not just here in Summit County, but across this country, I noticed that only European countries are getting contracts in these communities. And we have people who are Native Americans, multiracial Americans, and Black Americans that are not getting these contracts. And especially when we're dealing with mass incarceration, where Black people are the majority in the prisons. So that needs to be addressed. National Adoption Day, I'm in opposition to that as well, because that is controlled by Children's Services. And I can further direct you if you need to at a later time, if you'd have a conversation with me.
Yep.
In reference to any of my concerns. And I can also direct you to Reverend Frederick Shaw, who is a spokesman for the the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, who addresses psychiatric abuse, especially of children, if you'd be interested in having a meeting with them.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up. Just a friendly reminder that after the council tonight, we do have budget hearings. Next, there are three motions. There are 20 first readings. There are 3 first reading passage requests, 2024280. Heidi Swindell will address council.
Thank you. Heidi Swindell, Summit County Engineers Office. This is a pretty easy one. ODOT is going to repair the bridges on I-480. It goes over Stowe Road in Twinsburg Township. We just have a little portion of that road. They anticipate all the construction vehicles damaging the pavement on Stowe Road when they're doing the work underneath the bridges. So they offered to mill and resurface it once the bridge project is done. They just need our council to pass legislation saying that we've all agreed to this.
Is there any questions? Heidi, I do have something that I would like you to get with me on. So I have a lot of residents up in Sagamore that are wondering about Valley View Road. And I told them that I believe it just got paved not too long ago here.
Part of it is.
Right, part
yeah.
of it. And so they were just asked, so like if you could get with me
Sure.
later on that.
Yeah,
Thank
they're
you.
doing that one in phases. I think we got 1 and 3 done first, but the missing link still needs to happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
I guess
working on it.
There's some areas that are pretty bad up on there, and so they were just asking me, and I said I would check with you. But thank you.
Now, off the top of my head, which is dangerous, but I believe it's 2026.
Right.
We
Okay.
have the funding.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
and I'll let them know. John, are you okay with this one?
All right, thank you.
Next is 2024281. Dennis Tubbs will address council.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dennis Tubbs, Community Economic Development. This request is for renewal of our GIS software suite. There's a 13% increase over last year. 5% of that is additional software for our drone. The remaining 7-ish% is an increase that Esri has done across the board for everyone. That's the first significant increase we've had since 1993 working with Esri. So.
Any questions? Liz, you okay with this one? Oh, sorry, sir.
What's the software in question?
It's Esri's GIS software for all of our GIS web applications and analysis, things that we do with their software. It's called ArcMap. That's the name of their software. Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Tubbs.
you.
Liz, you okay with this? 2024282. Phil Montgomery will address council again.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Montgomery from Executive Shapiro's Department of Finance and Budget. We have this cycle's appropriation legislation before council. The Board of Elections is looking to move appropriation between salary line items to cover booth worker pay for this election cycle. The second one is appropriating funds that the Board of Elections received from the state as reimbursement for certain expenses. The next two are new grants for Common Pleas Court. The next one is appropriating some funds for sheriff out of the ESAC account. We have a new grant for the sheriff in public safety. We have a little bit of appropriation increase for the engineer to repay some rotary expenses to a couple of enterprises. We have capital for the engineer for a change order coming out of their motor vehicle gas tax for the next two. And then on the last page, we have Children's Services requesting to move $1.5 million to cover placement costs that continue to increase for them. And then the last one is just readjusting some appropriations within one of the CSB orgs. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? If no questions, Mr. Wilhite, are you okay with this one? Okay. There are no late filings. We have routine legislation found on page 7. There are no second readings. There are no third readings. Please rise for the pledge, led by Councilman John Schmidt, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. you. Roll call?
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hyam,
Here.
Mr. Donofrio, Mr. Cajun, Ms. Dickinson,
Here.
Mr. Ford,
Here.
Mr. Wilhite,
Here.
Ms. Darrow,
Here.
Ms. Rogers, Ms. McKinney,
Here.
Ms. Walters.
Here. May I have a motion to approve the minutes, October 7th, 2024? I have a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motions for council. M64, 2024, a motion of council confirming the reappointment of Andrea Norris to the Facility Governing Board.
I have a motion on M0642024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
M65, 2024, a motion of council confirming the reappointment of Kristen Brannigan to the Humane Commission.
So moved.
I have a motion on M0652024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
M66, 2024, a motion of council establishing the council and committee meetings for January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025.
I have a motion on M0662024. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First readings, 2024-280, a resolution authorizing the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform the milling and resurfacing of Stowe Road as part of the project to improve the Interstate 480 bridges over Stowe Road, PID 111186, at no cost to the county, located in Twinsburg Township in Council District 1 for the engineer emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-280.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-280 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-281, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Environmental Systems Research Institute, Incorporated, ESRI, as a sole source for software maintenance, including technical support and software upgrades for ArcGIS for a one-year term from 10/31/24 through 10/30/25, and in an amount not to exceed $88,764 for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development and the Office of Information Technology Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-281.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-281 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-282, a resolution appropriating funds in order to meet projected expenditures for the balance of 2024 as set forth in Exhibit A for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-282.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt, and to suspend the rules and adopt 2024-282 on the suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
2024-283, a resolution approving the Human Resource Commission revision and reclassification of the sheriff cadet position from a classified, non-bargaining Category 2, Grade 3 position to a classified, non-bargaining Category 3, Grade 4 position due to the revisions made to the classification specification for the Executive's Department of Human Resources and the Sheriff Emergency. 2024-284, a resolution approving the new classification, specification, and salary schedule for the classified, non-bargaining position of ESORN Coordinator for the Executive's Department of Human Resources and the Sheriff Emergency. 2024-285, an ordinance amending Section 339.12 of the Codified Ordinance of the County of Summit entitled Bridge Weight Limits to place a load limit on the Yellow Creek Road Bridge over Yellow Creek and remove the load limits on the Revere Road Bridge over Revere Run, the Granger Road Bridge over Yellow Creek, the South Main Street Bridge over the Nimsala Creek, the Pressler Road Bridge over Tuscarawas River, and the Ira Road Bridge over the North Fork of Yellow Creek for the engineer emergency. 2024-286, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with Mark Haynes Construction Incorporated for completion of the Y Road Flood Mitigation and Improvement Project, Phase 2 and 1B, located in Bath Township in Council District 5, in an amount not to exceed $880,276 for the engineer emergency. 2024-287, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a contract with Buckeye Pumps Incorporated as a sole source and in an amount not to exceed $135,216 for the repair of one pump at pump station number 30 and two pumps at pump station number 51, located in the City of Greene and Council District 8, and authorizing an increase the vendor's purchase aggregate total for calendar year 2024 pursuant to Section 177.13 of the Codified Ordinances of the County of Summit for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services emergency. 2024-288, a resolution authorizing the executive to advertise for bids for the parking lot improvement project at the Animal Control Facility located in the City of Akron in Council District 5 for an estimated total cost not to exceed $150,000 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services Physical Plants emergency. 2024-289, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Montrose Ford Incorporated at state term pricing for two vehicles in an amount not to exceed $88,120 for the Executive's Department of Administrative Services Physical Plants emergency. 2024-290, a resolution declaring November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday in Summit County, encouraging the residents of Summit County to support our small businesses for the executive and council emergency. 2024-291, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute any documents necessary to accept an award from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources of a 2025 Marine Patrol Assistance Grant for the calendar year ending 12/31/25 in an amount not to exceed $35,000 with a local cash match requirement not to exceed $12,000 for a program total not to exceed $47,000 for the sheriff emergency. 2024-292, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a grant agreement with Summit Educational Service Center in an amount not to exceed $750,000 from the Opiate Litigation Settlement Funds to plan and implement school-based mental health programming and coordination of care and educational settings in the County of Summit for the executive, the Opiate Abatement Advisory Council, and the Key Stakeholders Group emergency. 2024-293, a resolution declaring November 23, 2024 as National Adoption Day in Summit County, raising awareness about the need for permanent families for children in foster care, recognizing our children and the joy they bring to their adoptive families, and encouraging Summit County residents to secure safe permanency and well-being for all children by considering becoming a foster to adopt family for the executive emergency. 2024-294, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with KeyBank National Association to provide banking, lockbox, and trust services for a 2-year term from 1/1/25 to 12/31/26, with 2 options to renew for an additional 2-year term in a total amount not to exceed $270,560.33 for the fiscal officer emergency. 2024-295, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a renewal, second and final, of a professional service contract with Meter Investment Management for investment advisory services for a 2-year term from 1/1/25 through 12/31/26 and in an amount not to exceed $168,000 for the fiscal officer emergency. 2024-296, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with Official Payments, ACI Payments Incorporated as a best practical source for merchant services and bank card processing for the fiscal office, the Sheriff's Office, Animal Control, Building Standards, and the Summit County Combined Health District, doing business as Summit County Public Health for a 5-year term at no cost to the county for the executive, fiscal officer, and Summit County Public Health emergency. 2024-297, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with AdviseX Technologies Limited Liability Company as best practical source for network as a service for Aruba access points with AdviseX for a 60-month term in a monthly amount not to exceed $4,240.72 for a total amount not to exceed $254,443.20 for the Office of Information Technology Emergency. 2024-298, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated at state term pricing for KnowBe4 security awareness training for a 3-year term from 1/1/25 through 12/31/28, and a yearly amount not to exceed $51,706.67 for a total amount not to exceed $155,120 for the Office of Information Technology Emergency. 2024-299, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a professional service contract with Dell Incorporated at state term pricing for Microsoft Select Plus perpetual licensing for a 1-year term from 10/1/24 through 9/30/25, and a total amount not to exceed $103,633.28 for the Office of Information Technology Emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt the routine legislation found on page 7.
I have a motion to suspend and adopt the routine legislation found on page 7. On the suspension, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned if there's no further business. And now we open budget hearings. Mr. Wilhite?
Madam President, sitting in for Chair John Donofrio, I'll open the budget hearings. First up is the Veteran Service Commission. Larry Moore will address council. And while Larry's coming up, I just want to say the Veteran Service Dinner again this year was outstanding, Larry. And at that, they honored our very own Gloria Rogers for her service over her tenure on this council, and it was very much appreciated, Larry. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, we enjoy the Veteran of the Year, obviously, and we've enjoyed working, collaborating with the county council, and good evening, as well as with Gloria for these years. Kind of a busy last year. We'll kind of look at 2023. I get what the data back from the VA, as far as by the states and by the counties about what they've expended in expenditures in each of the counties and across the United States. When I look at that, then I estimate how much of that we do through our service officers of credit filing claims on behalf of the veterans and their families here in Summit County. Last year, we were successful in filing claims for those on active duty for their injuries and illnesses, which came to more than $46 million in compensation coming back to the county of Summit. They get that in the form of a monthly check, which obviously they go out and spend on goods and services in this county, creating sales tax, gas tax, property tax, and all of those. So this is consistent. Again, this is probably the fifth year. We're over 40 million. We have been for the last 5 years minimum. Also, I'm happy to see that before COVID in 2019, I track how many new clients come in the office, give us an idea what our outreach is doing, marketing. We were at 822 2019. When COVID hit in 2020, we dropped to 390. And we've been progressively getting back to where we were. And this year we'll exceed that 2019 new clients by probably about 835. We're seeing about 50 a day are coming in the office, either veterans and or their family members. We, in the budget for 2025, my commissioners are pushing even more and more outreach for us to do. This year in outreach, we did props and pistons in August, and we were there with our tent set up. We just did the Mums Festival in Barberton. Come off that, we partnered with the county and sponsored Military Appreciation Day at the PGA Firestone tournament this year as well. We look to do that again next year and keep continually doing that. For this year, I've got in the budget, I need about $75,000. I'm going to have to retire the 15 passenger bus we've had since 2010. And I'm estimating that to be about, probably about 75 around that. So I've got some bids in for that, obviously. Bunch of equipment. We're going to have to get a whole bunch of software. Got to get a new server as well. It's a phone system which has been there since 2009. Part of that we are creating a website that'll incorporate communications between the VSE and all 22 veterans organizations in Summit County. The American Legions, the VFWs, we will develop that and connect that so they can see messages coming back from us, they can ask us questions, and that's going to cost us, creation of that's going to cost about $20,000, which is partially that budget. We also, as the president of the executive committee for the Summit County Stand Down, when I spoke to the board or the council last year, we talked about the warehouse that we use for the stand down material. The roof is terribly leaking. We lost about half of the coats and boots we had. Also, they got broke into 3 different times. So I put in that budget. Basically, it's a county-owned building, but to prepare that roof, which is going to cost about $50,000, so that we don't lose any more stuff, and obviously to put a decent security system in, so we know when they get broke into. Because we supply not only Summit County out of those clothes and boots and whatnot, we also supply about 2 other stand downs as well out of there. So we store stuff year round, and if somebody has an issue, we go down to the warehouse and get stuff out. But we've had to move everything over to one side. The other side's leaking like a sieve, so we got that to deal with. As far as outreach, this coming year, again, we're going to do this new website for the veterans organizations in the county, as well as the second, we're updating our website because it's gotten old. We just had some software. Software is getting expensive as heck. The firm we used to have our VA wear with used to be about $6,000. Somebody bought them out. We got a quote from them the other day. They want $22,000 or 60% increase, which is like another thing we're playing around with. And I'll give you an idea. So I've talked to the Akron County or Akron VA clinic. And I went down and spoke to their officials about putting a kiosk in there and put it in their waiting area where the veterans come in, which would be hooked directly up to us. They could ask questions and get information, and it would look about like that. It's about $5,000 a shot. We're going to use them for a guinea pig. If that works out and we get a lot of response, we're going to purchase some more of these and put them, like let's say up in Twinsburg, someplace where we're getting up where a lot of those folks don't get the service they need, and try to give them some more connection to us. So again, we can do more outreach. We will continue to do that. We've transported 1,060 veterans up to the VA Medical Center in Cleveland. We got 2 of them that are going up right now. They've got kidney dialysis. We take them up every week free of charge. We've had a couple with bypass surgery, obviously chemo, you name it, they do it up there. They're great. They get the regular care down here, but when it comes to specialty care, they have to go to Cleveland, obviously, for that. And again, we've for years provided that free transportation. At the same time, we partner with Mature Services. So we have a smaller van we use for shuttle, and we use that van. Mature Services provides the operators, which they pay for, and we provide the vehicle. We take that shuttle from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We go to Haven of Rest, the VA clinic, Metro Center, and back to our office, and we circle around picking up any veterans we need to and bringing them to wherever we need to go. So it's another service, and we've expanded that out with Mature Services. We continue to work at anything and everything we can as far as to provide for the veterans and their families. We're starting to see a whole lot more veterans come in, and it's been a record breaker for the VA regional office in Cleveland as far as claims. I think they approved more than 600 claims. Most of that's under what we call the PAC Act, which got passed in August, which recognizes these Iraq and Afghan veterans who haven't gotten all these experiences with toxic materials. We get everything from burn pits to, you name it, asbestosis. Those who were serving Uzbekistan, what we call K2, where they had their barracks, and that was mostly Air Force guys. It was a Russian base during Afghanistan when they left, but that was a chemo dump. So not only chemo dump they had these guys sitting in the middle of, it also, they found out that they're having a high incident of illnesses because they found it also got exposed to enhanced radiation there. So it continues like this. Again, you got Camp Lejeune, that's settling down now. You got a monument, probably 191,000 cases going against them from there, which is, they thought it was going to be about $61 billion. It's going to be more like $3 trillion when they're done, and it's going to bust a bank maybe. We just had an issue. I'm with the VFW National Legislative Committee, so in September 11th through the 12th, I was in Washington, D.C. advocating for veterans. The main thing that we were there, and our top priority was in July 31 of this year, the VA came to the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee to let them know that they come to the conclusion that they were, $3 billion shortfall to fund 2024 fiscal year, which meant if they didn't come up with emergency funding when they came back in session in September and get that $4 billion put back in place, October 1 of this year, 7 million veterans across the United States wouldn't have seen a compensation or a pension check. And as I told our congressman in Washington, D.C., if that happens here in Ohio, I said that's going to put on all 88 counties, as far as, because we do financial aid, that's their only income for these folks. If they don't get that, they're going to turn to us. And the point being was that I said, if that happens, we're not set up to see that kind of a number of people come at us. So I told Bid, I said, you have till September 20th to okay that money, because the reason if you don't, the Treasury Department and the VA will not be able to get those checks out October 1. They cut it right to the wire. The House passed the funding on Tuesday, the 17th. Thursday, the 19th, the Senate passed it and went to the President on the 20th to sign. I said, you guys couldn't cut it any closer than that. But they got another problem, because next year they are $11.97 billion short for funding. So it's one hurdle after another. But anyhow, that's kind of where we're at with everything. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Larry, great. Thank you. And thanks for all you guys do. It's just a great organization. You do a great job.
Thank you.
For that. Any questions from members of council?
I just have one quick one. Are you guys connected with Unitas platform?
Yes.
Veterans? Okay.
Yeah, and something else, this morning it was kind of nice too. We went down and were guest the Akron Bar Association out at MAPS Museum. And we also, for the Veterans Valor Court, we had the judges down there, and we had a lot of the veterans with us down there. We explained what we do. And again, we provide, obviously, an accredited VA service officer every Monday to the Common Pleas Valor Court, as well as we also provide funding for a free legal counsel for any of them to clean up their records, as they're trying to go through that diversion program.
And I'll just say one one other thing. I know we put you through the paces last year on the marketing increase,
Yeah.
but I'm glad to see that the numbers are up, that you're reaching the veterans.
Yeah, then that's the whole point to that, you know. We got one more year on that contract, and then, in fact, we have a meeting with them coming up here in November, because I want to sit down with them, and my board does, and obviously, we want to see some numbers and where we're at. So with that, thank you all.
Thank you, Larry.
Yes.
Gloria?
And looking over all of this, I think you explained those key increases. Other expenses went from 103 to 172. Is that including something from the
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's just some of it's software, some of it's equipment, some of the software to go with equipment. It's just all kind of intertwined. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Larry. Next up, we have the Law Library Resources Board, Amber Barnhart and Brian Harnick.
I guess I'll
I
lead
don't
off.
see Amber coming up, so I guess it's you.
Amber's
Oh, there she
here.
is. Come on
Either
up,
way, we can both talk. This is for the Akron Law Library on the 4th floor of the courthouse. They provide legal research and all sorts of legal research services for our bar and for others that might come in. It's a very small budget, 2 employees. Amber's one of them, one of 2. And basically what you see here, the proposed budget for 2025 is $28,000 and change, or excuse me, $285,000 and change, up about $7,000 from last year, which really reflects the COLAs and the increases to healthcare costs. All the other expenses are pretty much steady. And we'll take any questions.
Any questions for Brian and Amber from members of the council? Okay, great. Thank you. You did a great job, Amber.
Thanks, Amber. She's going to do this next year by herself.
Next up is Internal Audit, Lisa Scapura. Lisa, come on up.
Good evening, Lisa Scapura, Internal Audit Director. Our budget that we have before you is the one that was presented to us from the Department of Finance and Budget. We have requested no changes in the budget. We have a small increase in salaries. That's the only increase, and that's because of the COLA adjustment. And once again, we are providing audit services to the Highway Patrol Pension Retirement System this year. We just finished an audit with them, contract services, hoping to provide more services against next year. And other than that, it's a pretty easy budget. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Any questions of Lisa from members of the council? Hearing and seeing none. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Clerk of Courts, Tavia Golonsky and Anthony Gomez. Madam Clerk, come on up.
Thank you. It came up faster than I thought we would. Good evening, County Council. My name is Tavia Golonsky, and I am your Summit County Clerk of Courts. I was appointed to this office in January of 2024. I would first like to recognize the council members and their staff for all their hard work throughout this year. Today, I'm here to discuss the Clerk's Office budget for fiscal year 2025. The focus of the Clerk's Office for the 2025 fiscal year is the retention and professional development of my staff. My staff drives the work of the office, and they dedicate each day to providing high-quality service to Summit County residents. Upon my appointment, my office cooperated to have our first full internal audit in almost a decade. This identified additional savings in our internal accounts. Internal audit identified a need for a dedicated staff member who focuses on evidence. Currently, our evidence officer is an executive assistant that supervises the appellate clerk and manages additional responsibilities. Previously, the Clerk of Courts office had entire departments of staff dedicated to evidence. We are proposing to add an evidence and property manager from the title fund, which will not have any impact on the general fund. Additionally, I did not renew the lease on the Fairlawn office, which will decrease high leasing expenses starting in January 2025. The Fairlawn office had been vacant for many years, and the decision came after an analysis of title numbers, car dealerships, and BMV locations across the county. In 2024, my administration negotiated a new contract for our bargaining unit. We worked diligently to absorb these salary increases into our existing budget without asking the county for additional general fund dollars. For the upcoming fiscal year, we had to make adjustments in our general fund ask to cover these new rates. The clerk's office has two divisions, the legal division, which has our bargaining unit, and our title division, which is non-bargaining. This difference in units has led to a significant pay disparity across the two divisions. I am requesting a partial equity adjustment to keep our title division competitive at a total cost of $32,000 that will come directly from the title fund with no impact on the general fund. The Office of Internal Technology has been working with multiple charter offices on website upgrades and have requested that we budget $75,000 for a 2025 website upgrade. This again is being budgeted from the title fund. Again, thank you for your consideration and continued support of the Summit County Clerk of Courts office. This is not part of my speech, but I wanted to add a personal note. I believe that training is an investment in employees. Because you invested in me this year, I'm on track to become, in my first year of operation, a certified clerk under the Ohio Association of County Clerks of Courts Association because of the 28 hours of training that I was able to participate in this year because of your generosity. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to turn to my Chief Deputy, Anthony Gomez, who will answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions for the clerk or for Anthony from members of the council?
Just to answer any questions you may have.
Sorry. Go ahead, Gordon.
Okay, I see the contact services from 24 to 25, there's a substantial increase in expenditure. That is due to the technical.
In the general fund? In the general fund, that's due to a couple of things. One is the way that internal services, they shifted some of the internal services that were previously being charged back to us, some of those contracts, they shifted them over to us, so we added those into our budget as well. And we're also going to modernize some of our evidence through OnBase with the county. We're working on a project with the Office of Information Technology, so there's going to be additional costs with that. So additional findings through the internal audit as with regards to our evidence area. Yes.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a question about the increase in the general salary. Were there employees added, or what would account for that from 2023 to 2024?
And the general salary, the actual expenditures to the adjusted budget on general fund? Yeah. We weren't here in 2023, so I'm not sure why they only expended $127,000 out of the general fund.
So I can answer that.
Yeah.
So when we looked at 2023 and looked at our ARPA funds and things like that, we moved a lot of salaries and benefits off of the general fund and into the ARPA fund. So this is reflective of what remained there. So in order to see that what was driving that decrease, I mean, I could show you the numbers by each department, but that's why you're going to see that a lot in salary and benefits through these budget hearings, that in 2023 the numbers are going to look artificially low.
I will say that's one reason why I didn't present percentages when I was preparing the budget. I said, yeah, percentages is not going to be the way to go.
Any other questions? Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is DD Board, Lisa Kamlowski and Myra Ponza. Come on up, Lisa.
Good afternoon, council members. Lisa Kamlowski, Superintendent for Summit DD, and also with me tonight is Myra Posna, our Fiscal Director. For 2025, as we stand currently at the end of the third quarter, Summit ED is serving 5,203 individuals compared to 5,078 individuals at this time last year, so an increase of 125 individuals. And of those folks, almost half, or 2,407, are under the age of 21. Kind of a wake-up statistic, if you will. Our 25 budget supports growth assuming 100 new individuals. So for expenditures, our total operating expenditures are projected to be at $81.8 million, approximately 8% increase from our current budget. The majority of that cost is in the line items for salaries, employee benefits, and most significantly, the cost of services to individuals, which costs are represented in your contract services line item. The $23 million salary line item includes, as others have talked about tonight, an average wage adjustment of 3% for our employees, and the addition of 10.5 new full-time equivalents to meet increased needs. So we are going from 326.5 FTEs to 337 FTEs. We are adding 8 service and support administrators. Those are our case managers that work directly with individuals and families. 2 developmental specialists. Those are individuals that work with families in our early intervention program. And we are taking what is now a part-time evaluator position and moving that individual to a full-time role. That is the person. The evaluators are individuals that are our staff who evaluate the needs of kiddos that are coming in through our early intervention program. Those are all bargaining unit positions. And again, as I indicated, all of them interface directly with individuals and families. In our employee benefit line item, obviously the costs of PERS and payroll taxes increase with the addition of new employees. We've also accounted for an increase of 6% for medical insurance and 3% for dental insurance. Moving on to our contract services, clearly our most significant service costs are here. So included in this line item is our Medicaid match. That is the amount that we pay to the state of Ohio towards the cost of Medicaid services for individuals. The state uses that money, draws down the remaining payment from the federal government. Our Medicaid costs are projected to increase by about $4 million for 2025 to a total spend of $36 million. So this increase includes a number of things. It's growth in the number of individuals that we serve. It's additional service needs of those who are already receiving services. And most impactful is the county share of the Medicaid rate increase. I'm sure you recall me talking about this for the last couple of years. When we ran our levy, we anticipated that increase would be about 6.5%. As it has panned out, it's closer to 7.5%. So it's an additional $3 to $4 million per year than what we anticipated. The last factor that impacts this line item is the percentage of federal participation. So for most of the levy cycle that we're just coming out of over the past few years, it has been 30%. This year, it has been increased to 34.9%. And in 2025, it'll be back to 35.5%. So those are the factors that are contributing to the increase in our Medicaid match. Also included in this line item are non-Medicaid funded services for individuals, which in line with our provider rate increases, that is increased about 7% next year to just under $9 million. So at a really high level, some of the things that are funded out of that $9 million in this line item include about $3 million funds the full cost of services to individuals who are not on Medicaid waivers. So we're talking about residential supports, non-medical transportation, day services, employment supports, homemaker personal care. About $1.5 million goes towards professional services, specialized behavioral or therapeutic services, collaborations that we do on a local level, technology support, supports with school districts, supports that we give to daycares so that kiddos with disabilities can remain actively enrolled in those community daycares, and the shared pool collaborative that we have with Family and Children First Council. We've got about $1.3 million earmarked for provider workforce development and recruiting and retention efforts and our summer youth work experience program. About $1 million funds our family engagement program. This is a program where families who are not receiving services through a Medicaid waiver can receive reimbursement for certain expenses that are targeted towards fostering community inclusion. So things like camps, clubs, childcare, respite services. And lastly, about $1 million covers the contract that we have with Akron Children's Hospital. This contract provides service coordination for the early intervention population through our Help Me Grow program. All other expenditure areas are expected to have no material change or have decreased. So I'm going to stop there, take a breath, and see if you guys have any questions.
Any questions from members of council? Yes. Go ahead. So I'm not sure that the 24 budget, our 24 budget is actually $75.6 million, so I'm not sure what this 86 is.
One of the things with the new financial system is when prior year encumbrances roll to the next year, it moves the budget into the revised budget. It doesn't leave it in the prior year. So this $86 million would be their original budget for 2024 plus anything that rolled from 23 into 24. It's how the new system's designed. Our old system, we had committed and uncommitted funds, so we could separate them out in this. It doesn't appear that we can. I'll double check with the person that does our book, but that is why.
I'm not aware of anything significant for supplies that has changed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, for the slow one in the room, say that again, Phil. This.
So encumbrances, contracts, and purchase orders that were created in 2023. If they weren't used by 12/31/23, they're still available in 24. Then they become use it or lose it. So if you close a prior year PO, the budget goes away. But the budget will sit there. So what Munis does is it takes all those prior year encumbrances, zeroes them out in the old year, and moves them into the new year. And so it adds that layer onto their original budget. Brian had a good point. It is an accounting entry that I may be able to get excluded from the book pages going forward. So I'll follow up on that. But that is what the difference is.
So their actual 2024 budget will be.
It's encumbered prior.
It's not the 86.
No, our expenditure budget for 24 was $75.6 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could add a note.
Yeah, historically in the old system, we excluded all the, what they call committed transactions, which were those prior year POs. So let's look to see if we can do something similar.
Yeah, so, yeah, please. So it's an accurate picture. This looks like they're getting more than what they're actually getting.
Looks like we're decreasing next year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm also going to Ms. McKinney's question about the 23 numbers, I'm going to see if we can exclude that journal entry that moves the salary and benefits off, so then you're back to apples. So if I can get that, I'll resend these pages to council.
Great, thank you. Bethany, do you have a question?
Is this then sort of transitional to the Munis system, that we'll see this time, but not necessarily in the future?
Yeah, they looked like that last year too. In the system, the revised 2024 budget is the original budget plus the rollover from the prior year. That's how the system's designed.
Last year, you didn't have a roll that occurred.
Correct. Last year. Going forward, it'll look like that unless I can exclude period 13. So.
Okay, does everybody understand the difference? Did that help, Joe? Yes, it does. It really does. But my point is, though, for these guys and the other agencies, it makes it look like they're getting more than they're getting, and then they've got explaining to do as a result. So if we could get this so that they're not having to go through that'd be great.
So that's, but he doesn't know yet, so.
Any
other questions for Lisa or for Myra?
Before I sit, I want to just mention too, additionally, we're asking for appropriations in the Gifts and Donations Fund in the amount of $75,493, and in our Medicaid Reserve Fund of $9,659,347. $100,000. I think you have those pages as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much. Okay, next up, ADM Board, Amy Wade, Jen Peevish.
Good evening. Yes, you do. So thank you. I'm Amy Wade, Executive Director of the County of Summit ADM Board. And I will not be before you long, as I know we were just here less than 3 months ago giving an update on our capital projects, and we will be back in less than 6 months regarding our levy for 2025. Also, I'm aware that you received the SSAB report, Social Services Advisory Board report that Councilman Will Height just referenced. And that is packed full of great information and updates and real-time dashboards that I hope you all had an opportunity to peruse through. That gives an overview of the state of behavioral health in Summit County and the budgeting considerations for the upcoming year. I would also like to thank Council President Darrow for attending our groundbreaking for the Dr. Fred Freese Residential Center. It was a joyous occasion earlier this month, actually. We're still in October, occurring unbeknownst to us on the actual birthday of Dr. Fred Freese, so that made it even more exciting. Unfortunately, we still have not officially broken ground as we're awaiting final signature from the governor for the land lease that may have some timing and cost implications, but we have done some outreach and my team is optimistic that things will be resolved in the next couple of weeks. Cost overrun on this project could have implications for our work on our new crisis to become wellness center, and we are still in the site identification process for that particular project. Both of these projects will result in new state-of-the-art facilities that 3 of our providers will be taking advantage of, that will be benefit for them for recruitment and retention of staff, and to work in the facilities that are safe and equipped for work not just for today but for tomorrow as well. And it will be clean, welcoming facilities that foster hope and reduce stigma for the clients that they serve. Another update I wanted to provide, I believe you all received a copy of our purpose statement, our new global end statement. That is something that our board worked on over the past several months with consultants to look at the purpose for the ADM board. And so they voted on that on October 22nd after several surveys, focus groups, and individual interviews with community stakeholders to come up with those priorities that you see there, including system capacity, where we'll focus on workforce efficiencies and community engagement, public awareness, focusing on stigma reduction and resource awareness, access and equity, focusing on disproportionately impacted populations and creative ways to address barriers, prevention, and that's across the lifespan for pregnant mothers all the way to our older adult population, and innovation, which will focus on data-informed innovation and advocacy for the data and state resources and federal resources needed to support and supplement our work. As always, I come with a brief update on our lives lost in our community due to overdose and suicide. I would like to report that as of today, we have 109 confirmed and 10 suspected for potential overdose death for a total of 119. At this time last year, we were at 196. So that is a 39% decrease from what we were seeing last year. In terms of loss of life by suicide, we've seen 82 deaths to date. And at this time last year, we were at 88 lives lost, so that represents a 7% decrease. Now, while we can't take full credit for these trends, we are confident that our efforts and those of our community partners and stakeholders and providers that walk alongside us did contribute to this, and we want to see this trend continue. So I now want to turn it over to Jen Peevish, who will present our overall budget for 2025 with the focus on funding to our community partners and stakeholders.
Good evening, council members. I'm Jen Peevish. I'm Associate Director of the County of Summit Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Service Board. So I'm going to go through just a few items that you may be looking at on the funding list. Our projection is for our salaries and our benefits to increase in 2025. We are projecting an additional position being added to our table of organization for an IT generalist. And so then, of course, annual increases and expected increases in the costs of insurance and PRS, Medicare, that would come along with a new position and higher salaries in 2025. I want to note on the contract service line that about $7 million. You can see the $57 million, that's a 2024 adjusted budget, and then you can see in 2025 we have $48,757,000. About $7 million of that difference is that carryover number from the prior year, because I don't want anybody to think we're like making those types of cuts or anything out there, because I am going to go through some of our details there. So I wanted to point that out to start with, and then I'm going to go back to that in a moment. So the other significant difference is you might notice in equipment, our adjusted budget for 2024 was $92,977, and in 2025 we're going to go down to $22,000. So we've spent a significant amount for equipment in the current year, which then will allow us not to spend as much money in 2025. Our office was upgraded and expanded a little bit. That'll help us with our new staffing and so forth. So that's what that difference is related to there. So to move back into the contract services, as Amy said, I just want to make sure that we all have a good idea of where we are with our services. So our behavioral health contract services, that's for mental health, substance use disorders, and supportive services. That is $32.74 million of the $48,757,000 that you see there. So that's about 67% for those direct services to clients. We also have value-based purchasing. Again, in our budget, that is funding that goes directly to our providers. However, it is not dependent on, what type of insurance that a client would have. It's not dependent on service volume. So that's a little bit over $6.2 million, or 12%. So together, those two items are 79% of our budget that are going out there towards services and resources for our providers. Additionally, we have another $1.1 million that is set aside for recruitment and retention efforts in 2025. We have spent several million dollars, I believe, is it $5 million over the past 5.5 million over the past two to 3 years for workforce development. So this is something that directly helps our providers not only retain staff that they have, but also bring new staff into the agencies, because of course, if we don't have the staff, we can't provide the services. So we're committed to making sure that that funding is available. We've had consultation, we've had stakeholder work groups, and we've had a lot of collaboration with our providers. So we're looking forward to continuing the project as we are involved with spending and initiatives as we speak, but then also continuing it into 2025, 2026. We have, I think it's a 3-year plan for, spending over that time to make sure that we can shore up the workforce. So additionally, we have funds that are used for training our providers in evidence-based practices. I know that many of you are familiar with those, and also familiar with the price tag that goes along with training professional staff in evidence-based practices like motivational interviewing, CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, and so many more that, I could go on, but I won't. So we have several $100,000 there. It's like $600,000 that is available for training, which means that our providers do not have to pay that out of their budget. we initiate these trainings and we, open them up, say, hey, we're doing this, please register. So we have a lot going on with our providers and a lot of good collaboration. And as Amy mentioned, we are on a fast track for our new buildings. So of course, that means working with the providers and looking at the service delivery models and new programming coming online.
Any questions from members of council? Go ahead.
This is beside what you just told us. With, and I think Dee Dee is the same thing, with all of the agencies that you work with, independent agencies, who audits them to be sure that they are following your guidelines and are financially responsible? Do you have outside companies come in and audit? Is this a state requirement? Because so much money flows from these organizations down to independent agencies. So when the state changed everything, you lost a lot of control.
Sure. Yes, there are independent audits of our providers. It is built into our contracts that we require an independent audit of the financial statements. And then depending on, what levels of federal funding flow in, that could be some additional compliance pieces that are required. So that's the first level, and we monitor to make sure that we're getting those in a timely fashion. We review them. Some have to be moved on to the state, and some of them we retain here. The other layer is that our staff also annually go out to the provider agencies, and it's a team of our clinical staff who look at, the documentation related to the services that are billed to us. It substantiates that, if we paid for these services, we can see that they were provided and that they were in accordance with the rules that are in the books, and we provide technical assistance. And then the other part of the team are folks from my staff that look at financial pieces. So we make sure that persons are Summit County residents and that they've submitted, income information and so forth to substantiate that they are eligible for the services we provide. So that coverage, I think, brings us good coverage. And then also our providers have various national accreditations. So of course, depending on what accrediting body they have, that's another layer. So they, getting a CARFA certification or a COA, those types of things, a joint commission, it's pretty intense for our agencies to obtain those certifications. And then those, of course, have to be renewed every so many years. So you're welcome.
I was going to ask the same thing, Gloria, because but the staff are not state auditors or financial auditors, though, correct?
The ADM staff are not, but whenever I was speaking of the independent audits, those are certified public accounting firms, and that's what's contractually required, is that they have an independent audit by a certified public accounting firm.
Right. So when you mention staff, though, it sounds like, like your staff, like some of the staff, they're probably doing other things, but that's what I was wondering, too, because it's just conflict,
Oh, go ahead.
If I can add, we have a specific staff identified for compliance reviews. When I started at the board, that was actually my role to go out and audit the agencies. But immediately prior to me coming to the board, we also, all of the Medicaid services funneled through the ADM board. So we still comply with a lot of those audit standards from Medicaid, and also following the evolving rules under Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services to make sure the agencies are in compliance. So there is a standardized approach to our compliance, our clinical and our fiscal compliance.
Okay, thank you.
Joe?
Just one follow-up on that issue. Who's hiring the external auditors for the service providers? Are they hiring their own, or is the board picking the auditor for some of the smaller service providers?
So right now, all of our providers select their own auditors. We do have some providers where we are almost 100% of their funding, but many of our providers have millions of dollars that exceed the ADM millions that go to the agencies. So they select it according to, their finance committees, their board of directors. So.
I just have one question. I wanted to go back to, you said that I believe there were 82 deaths by suicide so far this year. Do you have information as to how those deaths occur?
Well, let me see here what I provided. Yes, so, let me make sure I'm on 2024. So the majority was by gunshot, with the secondary one being by hanging and third being overdose.
And how many is by gunshot?
45.
Any other questions? Jen, the last time we were together, this time last year, we had a carryover of $77 million. Where are we at now? I know you've got about $39 million committed to the new facility, the renovation of the facility on North Hill. With the remainder, what kind of a carryover will you have for the agency? And then are there any additional dollars remaining above that?
Okay. So today, as we speak, we're at about 44 million. And I want to refer to our projection for the end of 2024. So we're projecting at the end of 2024 to have 28.9 million. So that's about 7 months of cash. So
That's your carryover for the agency.
that's what we are projecting, yes. That doesn't include the capital.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, we'll close the reviews.
Thank you.